The Haunted Attraction Association has elected 5 new board members, and in this video, we'll sit down with each of them to learn more about their backgrounds, but also to get advice that you can use to make this Halloween your best season yet.
My name is Tyler Kozar. I am the COO of 100 Acres Manor in Pittsburgh, PA, co-owner of Mortem Manor, which is a year-round attraction in Orlando, Florida, also co-owner of Post-Mortem Horror Boutique, and the manager for Nethercraft, which is now NCV Creative Vacuum for.
What do you think is the biggest misconception that haunters have about the customer experience?
So I think customer experience always gets pushed to the wayside. The customer experience starts when they first see your first ad. And you have to carry that experience to the moment they park, to the moment they buy a ticket, to the moment they stand in line, when they walk through, and then when they exit. But when they exit, that customer experience continues. So even when they get home, is it a follow-up email, or you have to think about it from the very start to the very end. And I think most haunts think about it as, oh, the experience is when they walk through my haunted house and get scared. It's a lot more than just them walking through and getting scared in your haunt.
And what is something that someone could do to get started on thinking about this?
Talk to your staff. Talk to your actors. Chances are your actors attended your haunted house before they signed up to be an actor. So ask them about their experience. Your parking people are going to hear about how confused people were finding you or how hard it was to buy a ticket. And then your ticket booth people are going to hear about, oh, I couldn't buy my ticket online because of this reason or that reason. We really do care about what our customers have to say. We would stand out in the parking lot as managers and we'll hear people like, I don't know where to go. We've learned, oh, we have to put a person here standing. But the biggest thing is that person can't be dressed in all black. They can't just be wearing a branded hoodie. We actually handed them traffic wands and light up vests because 90% of your people at your attraction are wearing black clothing. They're wearing spooky stuff. So we learned, oh, I got on staff and I didn't see anybody to help me find a ticket. Now you can't miss the person standing there with a blinky vest on and a blinky wand directing you where to go. It seems silly. It seems like one of those things that you want the front of your attraction to be all part of the experience. You got to break that a little bit to help people find where they need to go.
What is something that you wish you knew when you were first starting in this industry?
I wish I knew how complex it was in a way. Vendors do their best to get products out as quickly as possible. But we hit delays, same as the haunts who are building hit delays. People need to be understanding with one another and work together to come up with solutions. And I think that is what I've learned is how complex it is because there's very few haunts who are making their own animatronics, making their own everything from start to finish. We all rely on other people to help get products.
My name is Shalee Mudgett, and I am an owner-operator of the FEAR PDX in Portland, Oregon, and RCFX, which is formerly known as Rip City FX, a special effects makeup company and set design.
Not only are you a woman owner, but also you have that background in the vending space, and that's pretty unique. What is the opportunity here that you think to change the culture for women in the industry? Is that something you're thinking about?
That is one of my goals. Yes, absolutely. Because not necessarily only in this industry, but just astigmatism worldwide is that you don't see a lot of prominent women-owned establishments in particularly any industry. And the haunted attraction industry is a male-dominated industry. It is 100%. I have never felt disrespected by any male in the industry, but it's nice to show females that you can come into a male-dominated industry and get respected and be seen as an equal.
What do you think is the biggest misconception that haunters have when it comes to hiring and payroll and staffing?
A lot of misconception is they're going to do one and done hiring. They're going to have tryouts and hire at the beginning of the season, and they're going to have those actors the entire season, and it's going to be great. Here to tell you, no, it's not. It is difficult. You have to hire throughout the whole entire season. And so not getting into that mindset of, oh, it's a one and done. This is breeze. I'm going to audition 100 people. We're going to keep 70 of them and I'm going to have them all season. No, you're not. By the end of the season, if you do not continually audition and bring new people in, you're probably going to end up with 20 by the end of the season.
If a haunt is running as a volunteer, how do they transition, and should they transition into paying their team?
It's really hit or miss on your market. If once one big haunt in your area goes paid, you're eventually going to have to go paid as well, because you're not going to have those volunteers. I want to say we were one of the first in our area to go paid, and it forced a lot of other attractions in the area, whether they were big or smaller or whatnot, that they were losing their actors because they were getting paid. And so it changed the tables here for that.
So my name is Mike Quill. I run 2 attractions up here in Massachusetts. One is called Fear Town Haunted House, and the other is Factory of Terror.
When someone is trying to decide between transitioning to a permanent or keeping it a temporary setup, you think it's mainly the location?
It's location is everything with haunted houses. We're picking a great location that has parking. It's close off the highway, and also we have enough space. And I would say almost every case, it's ideal to have a permanent setup, but a lot of times if you can get a much better location that you have to do temporarily, you have to jump at that. And that's what we did. And 11 years later, we're still doing it. And we've learned a lot along the way on how to do it, how to not do it.
Did you have an aha moment that has really improved your operations or your process, or some way that you have made it to be a little bit easier to do? Because it's a lot of work.
Yes, that's the understatement of the century. Yeah, it sounds stupid, but forklift is, in recent years, we've started renting one, and now we design to make sure things are forkliftable, to make sure that a big facade, we can put up a second story and forklift it. And now we think back being like, how did we do this with my pickup truck? And we have hundreds and probably thousands of wall panels that we're unloading and eventually reloading. But we used to do that all by hand into a truck and put it out. Now work a bit smarter with forkliftable stuff and make our lives a lot easier.
What do you think is a big misconception that people have about the temporary installations?
The average customer doesn't know and doesn't care that you're a temporary setup. They're just caring about their experience. So whether I know how much more work it is to set up our attraction than a permanent install that can tweak some scenes and flip the lights on in September, but that doesn't matter. Like, customers are paying money to come through our show. It needs to be as good as, if not better than, any other show. The average customer just doesn't care that we're temporary. That's a logistic thing for us to figure out. So even though it's way more work and there's a lot more challenges, you got to roll with it and make sure you still put out a great show. It doesn't matter to the average person.
I am Brett Molitor from Huntington, Indiana, near Fort Wayne, and I have Hysterium Haunted Asylum and Hysterium Escapes. I used to be an electrician for General Motors and retired a year ago.
Do you think that safety is the largest challenge facing haunted attractions this season?
The big challenge is, are you up to date? Is your staff up to date? Are you doing drills? Remember when you were a kid, you always did the fire drill, and this is so boring, and we always walk out in a line and stuff. We all know how to do it. And my haunt, we do it every week. We come up with a different time, we don't announce it, it just happens. And we've done it 10 minutes before we opened one time. And we always block one of the exits. I have 7 exits plus a garage door on my building. So we have lots of exits. We always block one of the exits, and they have to use their alternative exit. And once a season, we block every exit and see what happens. And you get new actors every year, so you have to constantly do that. And a couple of years ago, we had a deaf actor, and we did a drill, and that deaf actor got left behind in the building. But you can learn 911 very easy. It's 911. So that's now become part of our training orientation with all the actors. So they all know that if there's staff or customers that are hearing impaired, they know how to say 911 and kind of gesture, follow me. And we're always learning stuff.
My name is Kevin. I own a small haunted attraction up in Western New York called Everhaunt. I also have a day job where I oversee a company up near Washington, D.C. That's most of my life during the week, and then the weekends are the haunt, which is great. Live in Buffalo, have a wonderful wife and a beautiful 4-year-old daughter. And so I'm living a good life right now.
I know having the perspective of you being in the haunt side, but also in the large company side, leadership has been a big focus for you. From your perspective, what does culture actually mean in a haunt capacity?
To me, again, it goes back to having a heart. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but if you walk in or go to our orientation of our haunt or walk in the back rooms, there's giant pictures of all of us together, and there's this culture of family. And it means more than any dollar coming through the door. Look, at the end of the day, we know that's important. We have to do that to make sure that we have the place. But at the end of the day, if you could create a family that truly cares about each other, that truly buys into what you're doing and truly feels like they're making a difference or part of something bigger, then that's a culture that I think people want to be at. If you look at our retention rates from our first year, my guess is 85% of those people are still with us. And we very rarely lose people. Just you create that environment where people want to be, are having fun, and you're letting them be themselves. That's truly in my opinion, what a great culture is about.
So if an owner is listening and they're thinking like, how do I start?
Honestly, this is going to sound silly, but the first step is getting to know everybody on your team inside and out, not just through the interview process. Okay, so I met Jim in the interview process. He told me that he loves haunted houses and he can do this and that. But no, it's what makes that person go. You should be able to look at anybody on your team at any point and know what makes them happiest and what makes them snap out of a mood, or if they're in a rough mood, or really, I know it sounds so basic, but you get to know every single person inside and out.
Finally, I asked each new board member what advice they'd give to a younger haunter trying to make a career in haunted attractions.
You have to plan for what's your end goal. Do I want this to always be a nonprofit and grow into a for-profit? Do I always want to be a brick and mortar store, or do I want to grow it? And have a thought in the back of your head of, okay, if this does take off, what's the next step? What's our next plan? And then if it doesn't work, what are you going to do?
There are those one-offs that they decide they want to do this and they're successful out of the gate. But that's maybe going to be 5 out of 100 people. So knowing that you're going to stumble, you're going to have a hard time, and know there's going to be stumbling blocks, and don't give up. Where you start doesn't matter. Where you came from doesn't matter. It's your dedication and your drive and your passion about what you want to do and where you want to see yourself, and never giving up. That's like the women in the industry. You've got to have that drive. You've got to have that grit. You've got to have that determination. You are going to get knocked down. You are going to get knocked on your butt. It's a matter of getting knocked down 9 times and getting up 10.
This is my dream as a kid, was to run a haunted house, as weird as that is. But how much you can learn from other people. But if you can just get involved, the information and the lessons you'll learn, if this is something you want to continue on doing, you can learn so much. And there's nothing like just learning on working in an attraction, seeing how things actually are. And it's very eye-opening.
Follow your passion. If it's acting, learn the acting. If it's makeup, learn the makeup, and start slow. If you try to do everything like Disney World all at once, it's pretty tough. It's your high fail rate. But if you start slow and start small and build from there, and you might only have a show that's a few minutes long and a few dollars, but every year you keep getting bigger and more complicated. And that's the way to grow.
Obviously, go out and learn before you do it. Before we opened up, I traveled, this is not an exaggeration, 170,000 miles. I met haunt owners across the country. I got to learn from people like Bill at Fear Fest in Missouri. His haunts was Necropolis. It's great. Matt at Penhurst, and Rich at Brighton Asylum, and Brent at Planet Doom, and so many. I would say network, get to know some haunt owners, get some experience, start to learn that stuff. But also, more importantly, take your time, because there's a lot of unexpected things that come up. You think you're going to make money in 3 years, it's going to be 5 years. Or make sure that you're able to do that. If you budget X amount of dollars, whatever that is, budget another 50% more, because the things that come up that we didn't know were going to come up. And the haunt owners prepared us. They said, oh, expect the unexpected because it's going to happen. And I said, oh, no, I got this. I've run businesses for a long time. I'm going to be fine. I got this all on paper. I have my 10,000, my 5,000 plan. And sure enough, they were 100% right. And we ended up having to, in some ways, take from X to pay X because we weren't expecting that. So you're not going to be able to, in the haunt industry, go from A to Z, A, B, C, D, E. You're going to go all over the place. You know what I mean? My advice is take your time, expect the unexpected, and make sure you get out and learn from some people that have done it before.